But there's no intro or anything. There's no. You don't have any intros or anything with FOSS Meetup. Everything is very laid back. So first off.
But yeah, before we start, I just wanted to introduce FOSS United. Right? So how many people here already know of the organization FOSS United? Okay. And how many are here for FOSS Meetup for the first time? Okay, that is a good number. Okay. Before we start, how many are students and how many are professionals? So first students. And I believe most of you will be in engineering college, right? How many are engineering college students? Any school students? Any school students? Okay. That is one thing that we need to work on properly. Maybe moving into info park has kind of limited school student participation, but
No. We don't take students. I'm not focused on students because there's thinker space over here, which is funded by the foundation. So does it make sense?
Oh, fine. Fine. Yeah, so this was just a quick survey. So FOSS United as an organization was started in 2020 and they run events all across India but mainly focused on IT. So Bangalore is the focus area and so free and open source software is what the organization works on. There is actually a slide. We are not going through that slide today. Everyone can check out the slide on the call. Now get into my talk. Okay. So I'll be talking about microservices on the edge. Before that, I'll introduce myself. So I'm Peter. I work at a company called YP, that is a connectivity platform for hardware companies in the IoT space. So we are helping these hardware companies collect the data that their sensors are generating and reliably get it to their data processing jobs on the internet using cloud technologies. I am a systems engineer here, data systems engineer, which means I work on systems level programs and I happen to also organize and lead Trust conferences and meetups all across India, but mainly focusing on Kerala. So Kerala Stations is a community that we also have in Kerala. So before I go further, my company also sponsors and we maintain this repo called MPDT, which is an open source Rust library for MPDT, the protocol. So it's a systems level implementation. If anyone's interested in systems programming and want to get started with core computer science or like figuring out about systems programming, as in like how to work with memory, how to work with like patching or things like that, at the systems or the operating system level, you can get to know me afterwards during the networking hour. So this is the open source repo that we maintain, and there's another open source repo which I work on as my daily job. So this is Uplink and SDK for building edge services. It's used by our customers to collect data to reliably send it over the network to their data processing jobs on the cloud. So if anyone is interested in talking about these concepts and this open source project that we maintain, you can get to know me during the.
So Uplink is just an SDK?
Yeah.
Uplink is just an SDK?
Yes. Currently, Uplink is an SDK. The talk that I am going to give is going to introduce you to what we are going forward with, which is we are building ecosystem. Right. Currently, we are just an SDK. You just pull code and put it on top of Uplink, but in the future, Uplink will be the base on which you will be building your software. So it will be like a communication layer on the edge.
So does that mean that you're going to put some of your core services also? You will be done with it?
Yes. So currently, I'll go through that part with, as we progress through the talk. Yeah. So microservices on edge. Oh, sure. Just give me a second. Technical difficulty, I have to set up video. Just give me 2 seconds. Cool. Yeah. So when I proposed this talk, we were in the primary stages of ideating and brainstorming about this topic, right, at my organization. So we thought microservices would be a good name to call this, right? But then I researched a bit about microservices and figured out some interesting outtakes that I'd like you guys to learn about. So what do we mean by microservices? So, what we mostly are familiar with is known as the monolithic architecture, right? When you build an application, it provides you an API that the client can use, and it interacts with the database to give you outputs, right? That's how the monolithic architecture, the most common architecture, is understood. The microservices architecture provides multiple different segregated APIs where each service is a separate concern, right? For example, let's take the case of social media organization, a social media application like Facebook, right? So they'll have like a profile API which will provide you information about a user. Then there will be a media service API which will provide you media like audio, video, etc. And there will be a feed API, sorry. Video Ninja won't work. Firefox is crashing.
Oh yeah, last time we had this problem. Hey, you don't have Chrome?
No.
How about Chrome?
So yeah, anyone who's joining through the video stream, sorry, you won't be able to see the slides except for through this. Okay. So as I was saying, by security concerns, you can also see the benefit here that there's a profile service, and let's say a lot of users are trying to get profile information, and that is overloading the system. In the monolithic architecture, what happens is you have to create a separate instance of the entire application. That means quite a lot of state information also has to be copied or like shared between those instances. Instead, what happens here is profile service, when it gets isolated in code, it can be easily multiplied in number, and all of them can connect to like a separate database, so the load does not get shared on the same database. And also we see that sometimes what happens is you have information that is not well stored in a particular type of DB. Let's say ClickHouse is a great database to store real-time data, but it might not be the best to store like media or like unorganized data. What are the different types of databases that you've got? Unstructured data, structured and unstructured data. Right? So media is not really structured data; it's more of an unstructured data. So storing media might be better idea to have like a different kind of database, like an object store. Right? So yeah, so databases, like different databases specialized for that kind of service would also be a benefit here. So that is why microservices became a big deal, right? In the 2010-2015 era, when like Google even open sourced their pod orchestrator, and they really propelled the idea of cloud native and microservice oriented architecture. Yes. So that was just a context building. Let's look at. Okay, I'm not sure if this image here is clear. Is it clear? So I'll just let everyone scan the image for a bit and understand why I have it on my slides. So I'm taking a dunk at microservices here. Okay. If you can't see it already, there's like an entrance hidden by bits and trouble here. And there is Saddam Hussein lying dead here. Right? So it's just microservices has been taken to a level where none of it makes sense anymore. Like everyone wants to redistribute the way their applications are built into microservices when it really does not have to be microservice, right? So sticking to ideologies has become a problem in software development, and yeah, it's like if I am going to say that my conversation, some of the topics that I'll be discussing here are not really microservice oriented. Like we are not building true microservices in that sense. So it doesn't really make sense to continue with microservices as the jargon topic for my talk here. But yeah, microservices is kind of becoming a weapon of mass destruction. Everyone wants everything to be made into microservice, which it really does. Yeah. So if you are not already convinced, here's a slide. Good. I hope that helps you get a bit of context on the battle between microservices and monolithic architecture. And so recently there was like a tweet storm that DHH had started about moving back to monolithic architecture. So if anyone's interested in research, just look up microservices as monolithic and add DHH, like the guy behind Ruby on Rails, right? So yeah. So yes, when we say microservices, really there's quite a bit of weight that gets added, right? What some like when you are just going into jargons, microservices looks cool. But then you also have to understand that the main concepts that you're talking about is building scalability into your app, right? And that is done when you have like small and independent apps, right? Which then you have to implement using containers, work with orchestration. I think that's an audio code.
Yeah. No, fine, just keep talking.
Okay. Yeah. So and then you have to think about like auto scaling, load balancing, building everything into an architecture, right? You also have to think about integration, message buses. We're going through the depths of hell when it comes to microservices, right? You have to think about monitoring, tracing, logging, etc., etc. Security is something that's really going to be a beta. Yeah, so you have to think about problems like network partitions, concerns with regards to consistency, data consistency, and then really like building more reports to the scheme was mentioned. Yeah. It really becomes boring, right? That is why I am replacing the title of my talk to moving compute to the edge, right? That really pulls away quite of the weight that comes into the talk. Right now, I am a bit more free. I can actually talk about what we are doing. Right? We are moving compute from the cloud onto the device. Okay, so let's talk about the current architecture. Right, most common IoT systems look like this, where data is being generated in a set of sensors. Like in EVs, you have what is known as a battery management system, what is known as a tire pressure monitoring system, etc. etc. Tons of sensors that are built into your electronic vehicle, or even nowadays in a fridge or the mixie. Like nowadays, you can see all these devices getting intelligent. Right? So currently, almost all systems are sending raw data. Right? As the sensor collects metric, it pushes it directly to something known as a broker, right? A data broker. The broker is running on the internet, so usually there's like a direct connection between the device and the internet, between and the server called the broker, the message broker. Okay, I don't know, like how many people here know about brokers? Just to understand if the crowd understands what I'm talking about.
You mean MQTT?
Yeah, MQTT or like message broker. Okay. For everyone else, message broker is basically like like if you're in Bangalore and want to find a place, you go to a third party, right? Not the person who's selling you the house, or not some random advertisement page. Even the advertisement page, but basically what happens is the broker knows a person, right? And you know the broker, so you go to the broker provides whatever resource you are looking for. Right? He contacts the second party. Like you are the first party, the second party, this guy keeps context, provides you with the resources that you want. So that is what a broker does. If you are the data collector, you want the data. The broker is connected to the devices which are producing the data, and the data that is coming into this broker is forwarded to you. That is what the broker does. Okay. So nowadays, what happens is whatever data is going onto the broker is raw data, which means it's very high throughput, right? You're sending like I don't know, like let's take the context of an EV, right? There's a system running on the device, running the car, known as the CAN bus, right? And there are multiple sensors all connected to this CAN bus. Everything is sending some message or the other onto it, and it contains a lot of information, important information. So CAN message is about 32 plus 64, usually somewhere around the 196 bit range, and then we have like 700 messages being generated every second on a normal system. Sometimes it goes above that, like thousands plus of messages per second. And all of this information has to be carried over an unreliable network, right? Let's take the example of the 2G network, right? Most common network for IoT systems. Nowadays, you are moving towards 5G, but in 2G space, like getting 100 kilobyte per second is the norm. But then there is network leakage. Then you have to go back in time, collect old data that was not sent on the network, things like that. So sometimes that is not enough for systems. But yeah, it's very high throughput is the main point here. You have a lot of data, like thousands of devices are generating this data. All of this data has to go to a broker. Then that broker has to forward all of this high throughput data. It's like a wave that is coming into the processing systems. You have like thousands of PMs, each of them doing like something like quite a lot of parallelization is happening here. You have a lot of data processing that's happening, and then the processed data is what is being stored into a data warehouse. But yes, all this is happening in the cloud, which means cloud costs, right? And even though cloud for normal usage is pretty cheap, when you have to handle this kind of load, it gets a bit expensive, right? But yes, so what was the solution? We found out that the devices that are running on our customers' dashboards, like the car dashboards, are themselves pretty powerful enough to do quite a few of the jobs related to data processing. So we thought of why not moving the job onto the device. But then there are problems of its own, right? Even though throughput now has decreased, less data because all of them is processed, and processed data is obviously less network expensive. The problem now is that this data has to be processed on the device, but the processing jobs evolve, right? So every once in a while you'll see that the calculations that you're doing are probably not as efficient, or maybe not according to what you want. So you want to add a feature, right? Let's say there is a temperature calculator, temperature sensor on the device, and you have to calculate what exact temperature your device will be in the future based on like 2 data points in the past. All of that jobs maybe were not already there on the device, and you want to add that job onto your processing list, right? So these can be done through an OTA, over-the-air update, but then it gets complex as you increase the number of variables with regards to the jobs that you have to run on the device, and as you add more features, it gets more complex, obviously. So yeah, that is where this comic comes in, right? You might think that everything gets automated, but then the problem with automation is one wrong input and everything crashes, right? You never know when that will happen.
So compared to that database or cloud solution to the on-device solution, how much is the capacity of memory or the processing or the inference?
Yes, so obviously these devices are not very resource rich, right? You will have maybe about 1 or 2 GB of RAM on the device, right? So, okay, I am going to take an example here, which might not be the case everywhere. We are restricting ourselves to devices that provide a POSIX interface for programming, right? So like Linux boards, or like Android tablets, which is a norm in EVs. So you will see, for example, the Ether dashboard, the Ether cluster is built with Android board. Android is running on the board, and it's a Snapdragon S. I forgot the exact chipset, but it's an SoC that is quad-core, and it has like 2 GB of RAM, right? And it's running Android. So that is the base, right, on which we are building. 2 GB RAM might seem like a lot, or might seem like very little to some, but then it happens to be in between, right? Some devices provide 512 MB of RAM.
But is that enough for this huge amount of data?
So, real time it is enough, right? When you are processing real time data, it is enough. But then when you push it into the cloud, what happens is you have to also take care of thousands of devices.
But still, you have the after processing, you have to store it back in database. Then again, you got cloud. That you can take out the processing cost, but the storing cost is different.
Storage cost, you are storing processed data, not raw data. Usually what happens is, in the cloud you also have to do debugging on the cloud itself, right? So you have to store all the 1,000 devices data for a set period of time, and for regulatory reasons, obviously you have to store that data because you have to send it into the cloud, and then you have to verify that some sensitive data is there or not later. So for regulatory reasons, obviously you have to store that there, but regulation is obviously changing with time. So I'm not considering regulation here. to be frank. But yeah, you can still move quite a lot of the processing into the device, right? With 2 GB of RAM and quad-core chipset. That's the base on which I am basing my talk. So it might be wrong, but still, this is just a concept that we are experimenting with. I'll come with more input if required, but right now I'm not sure about this. But anyways, going forward, yeah. So automating data processing jobs is a problem because you don't know what kind of input is coming in, right? And what something not could lead to. Anyways, let's talk about the solutions, right? Before we go into the solutions, I have to put in a note here that all of these are based on my own experiences and should not be taken as general advice, right? Let's go back to the solutions. Cool. So focus on the practical stuff, right? I was very hyped about talking about microservices, but then now you know that these are not really microservices, right? And then we don't really want to create like large and complex problems that we have to then just solve afterwards, right? Think about safety first, right? And zero trust is a concept that you might want to start working with, right, early on when you're building software for IoT systems. So this has been something that we have been taking seriously of lately. So we are a startup. We obviously always effort, right? And we have learned a lot through that process. But then we have also built processes that are like helping us solve these complex problems before they happen. Zero trust is a philosophy that helped us overcome quite a few of the challenges that we faced, and I really wanted to talk about that. But then there are also other concepts when it comes to security. But yeah, security first, right? When you're building software, always ensure that security is your main concern. You never know when you will introduce a bug that will really cause trouble. Like for example, in the IoT space, you have to be really sure about what you're doing. You never know when your car is being driven through somewhere, and because of some software bug or the other, it might lead to loss of life. So yeah, you have to be extremely careful about safety, right? Also, you never know when your devices will go away. Someone will take over your device and create a botnet out of it, because all of these devices are connected to the internet, so it's always a honeypot, right? Yeah, and then think about metrics and logging and ensure that your code gives them first-class citizenship, right? So you need to have observability to what your system is doing, right? And I see that quite a lot of players in the market really don't care about metrics or logging, right? On the edge, they want to do performance more. But then having observability in your system really helps, even though it might take a hit on all the resources available or your performance even. Do take that into mind. Yeah. Then build your software and test it with as much of integration tests and kiosk tests as possible. Right? Especially you are running these systems in the real world in extremely unforeseen circumstances. You never know when the network will go partial, like it's not as half open connection, or problems like that which you never foresee, right? So you have to ensure that you are testing for chaos, right? When you are building a large system on the edge. And then be mindful of the resources at the last step. I've kept it at the last because systems are evolving, right? And hardware is progressing. So sooner or later you will see that whatever performance benefit that you got by not doing a single step in your code is just redundant. It's like you did not have to do that optimization because the hardware on its own has progressed and now you are able to get it cheaper more processing power, more RAM. We're able to get it cheaper. So yeah, in my list of priorities, this is how I go. Be practical, ensure zero trust, go with metrics and logging everywhere, and then do chaos testing, integration testing. Finally, be mindful. Yeah, so that was my short take on what we're doing and what we're doing with the uplink microservice ecosystem. If you want more in-depth understanding of what we're doing, please come to me at the network. I didn't want to go too depth into the code for now. There is a PR, so if anyone's interested in learning about what exactly we are doing, you can check that out. It's open source and available. But yeah, thank you.
Hey, isn't metrics and logging quite expensive in terms of edge resources?
First of all,
at the scale at which you said 1,000 entries per second.
So it's not really that expensive, but you have to push these logs through the internet, right? And the internet, it might not seem expensive, but at the scale that we operate at, it is kind of expensive.
Why is it such high frequency data? Do you really need to know the tire pressure every second?
So you can configure it. You can drop some of that data, but then you have to write the application for it. The idea here is, let's say you are getting really data that you just don't know, don't understand. Right? You have to be able to figure out why that data is the way it is, right? So you need to be able to pull more, let's say you're pushing data at a certain frequency. You need to be able to tell the system to push more data when you want to debug exactly why that is happening, right? So those dynamic data collection requests is what moving the compute on the edge you have to consider about.
Oh, so you do some kind of processing, and when you want to do some kind of debug, you access a broker, or is that what you mean?
Not the broker, but the data that is on the edge. You want to be able to pull the data that is there on the device on whenever you need it. You need to build those systems as they need. And then coming back to your question about logging, right? Network is obviously one problem. The other problem is that some cycle of compute is also being taken in, which might be better utilized to do some calculation job. That's the reason why I said it's fine. You don't have to think about it. Most of the cases, because processing is obviously becoming much better over time. Processors are getting better. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's.
Regarding the data processing that you were telling us, we can do with the source system.
Yes.
What kind of tools?
So currently, there's customers of ours are using Python on the device, which is not really that resource efficient if you think about it. You mean data processing on the device as in the job, right? Okay. This is where containerization might be a topic that we need to get into. So we have thought about doing Lua jobs or some kind of programming that can be run on the device, like WebAssembly, or all of these are in the niche stage. We are thinking about it, brainstorming about it, but not really up there, right? But then the whole idea is moving compute onto the device. The compute does not. It's just algorithms, right? You can always rewrite it in some more efficient programming language or some more efficient runtime. So yeah, that's the gist. Currently, yeah, some of our customers are using Python. Okay, so here's I rewrite it in Rust, by the way.
Yeah. No, I think what they're doing is that a lot of their, at least for these EVs, a lot of things run in the user space, right?
Yes. On the cluster.
On the cluster, right? On the user space, on the device, I guess, because it's Android, you can use either, what is the Android thing? Java runs quite a bit on Android.
Yeah, so you're talking about the runtime.
Yeah. Runtime, yeah. So I guess Java is one thing, but you said Python.
But then it's Linux kernel underneath, so POSIX jobs, so assets.
So Java runs quite a lot, I've seen quite a lot of that run, at least in the aerospace.
So yeah, some people do use Kotlin to program their jobs, but those are like people who are mainly using uplink as like an interface to the UI on the device.
But I think it's a wrong decision to use Android as an embedded like operating system. You should be using something like Zephyr or some real time. I mean, it's so resource intensive. You think about Android, right? It's not lightweight at all.
But as costs improve, right? What's more beneficial, having a SoC or having a?
Yeah, you're right. They're running some tablet or something.
Yes. Like the cost of the vehicle itself, right, subsidizes the cost of the hardware. The extra hardware.
Chinese subsidize the cost of
Obviously, yeah. You can't get rid of the Chinese from the hardware supply chain. But yeah, any more questions?
So if you are looking at EVs, right?
Yes.
The computer on the device will be running. Taking the example you talked about data, right? The 2GB Android tablet or Android board data, that is going to be running the UI for the user.
Yes.
Like we talk about EVs, one of the main, not just EVs, modern cars, people talk about the responsiveness of the user. So moving compute down to that device, how much will it affect the UI responsiveness?
So one thing with Linux is that it provides a solution for this already. So that's known as priorities. So you can improve the priority of the UI or whatever is more important to you, and Linux will take it. Right? Job priorities is something that scheduling the operating system does. It's kind of a solved problem. I hope that was clear. The Linux operating system has something known as priority. So processes can set priority.
What do we use to access system calls for, like, say, if we want for scheduling and all that?
You want to have direct system calls,
Yeah.
JLC, or MESL, depending on the architecture, like your operating system. If it supports GLL, then GLL.
GLC is like POSIX compliant, is it?
Yeah. So it provides most of the system calls. Or like some C library or the other. Like CADL library for the operating system. More than
It's still like C based, is it?
yeah, so the operating system is written in C, right? So you have to interface with C. I mean, it's a Rust layer on top of C. Let's just rewrite Rust and rewrite Linux in Rust. Then we'll talk about other stuff.
I believe some drivers, like modern drivers in the system, Linux kernel is now written.
Yeah, so it's like, but still the orchestrator, the Linux operating system as a whole is C based. So it's like you're sending calls into C space is calling into comparing to Rust. That's how the flow goes. Doesn't make sense.
How do you basically send it to the device? As a single way or another way?
From the device, it's a single. No, not to HTTP. So that's a protocol called MQTT. So MQTT. So it was developed in the IoT space itself. There is a full form for it, but then it's not really utilized that much. It stands for message queue telemetrics transport. Transporting telemetrics data. It solves a few of the problems that come with regular TCP. For example, the problem of open ended open circuits, open connections, half open connections. It solves that problem to keep the lifetime. But yeah, quite a few of the problems that were seen in the IoT space got solved in TCP, got solved with LTE.
Hey, don't you find Android is very limiting in some cases to run these end services?
The thing,
Android kernel, yeah, it is a flavor of Linux, but it
normal like locked out Android is, but then most of these systems are jailbreaking. You can get into and work with quite a bit more. But yeah, Linux is preferred. Even with Android, we are working at the Linux level.
because if you think about Android, like with phones and all that, we simply cannot access the low level. That's why there's limited traction for open source in these phones, right? We can't access the Qualcomm processors and Linux and all that. So, there's a lot of problems over there. So,
Yeah.
what do you think that I think these problems might arise if we use Android and these kind of laws?
But even still, like Android is open source, you can still figure out how to get through those. I don't really work at that level, but I know.
I was thinking because when you mentioned Qualcomm has been a complete. They're not very cooperative when it came to open sourcing their microcode and all that, which is why, and Samsung also, right? So their Exynos chips are literally blacked out. We cannot access anything. If something goes wrong, it's gone, right? We can't update anything. So when you told me about Qualcomm and this Android, I was like immediately thinking, can we really build with that kind of freedom? Can we build on top of that platform? This is something I was thinking. I mean, Android is open source fine, but we need the hardware. Because you mentioned a lot about ports and those things, right? So, in that case, we are very dependent.
It's one of the problems that comes with building close on top of closed platforms.
And closed source, right? Open sourcing it, and I couldn't. Or the best thing is just, I don't know, just keep writing processes and things like that.
Yeah. But is there any alternatives, as in like for Qualcomm? So like those provide more freedom.
So Linux also runs on other sets of chipsets, right? Other chipsets. So you could go for RISC-V or.
I mean, have you like is it like viable right now? Are there like
Viability depends, right? What you want out of it.
as in, are there any devices that are being made in RISC-V?
No, Vaishak, you can see when it comes to IoT, you can use Texas Instruments, NXP is having
NXP,
all
yeah.
those are powerful chips. They're based on ARM and stuff. But then they're using these tablets, right? Because the Chinese are like just throwing away this
thing called Rock Chip
manufacturing. So
company.
these EVs are just using them, and they're using the Android which is given by these Chinese manufacturers, right? And if anybody who's used single board computers know the hardware is there, but when you try to apply an operating system on it, which is supplied by the Chinese, it's shit. It doesn't work anywhere, right? Which is why a lot of these Chinese brands, they have very good hardware, but once it comes to Linux support, they're really bad, right? So, and it's very difficult also to build on top on free open source. I mean, that's why Raspberry Pi has such a foothold on the SPC market, the embedded market, right? At least on the hobbyist side of things. So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge. And then the problem is that then when these companies start using these kind of suppliers, everything starts becoming very closed source, right?
Yeah, I really hope that.
And that's what you guys should really go in and
We need both the software and the hardware design engineers to come together and build systems for IoT in India. Yeah. My team. To be frank, just. But yeah, systems team at Byte Game is about 6 people. Most of them are currently working on our next gen Roco. We are trying to support large fleets of devices. So they're slowly moving towards a new architecture on the broker side, which is actually more interesting than this. But then currently I'm the only person who's working on the client side as well. So Yeah, my team is just. But yeah, that's one of the plus points and the minus points of working at a startup. You have to make do with what you have. Yeah.
What's your opinion on giving control to the users? Like for example, if I want to control my car entirely, like I don't want any integration with the manufacturer. At that point, what's your opinion?
Like the enthusiast me says yes. We need to do that. Like we need to right to repair. We also have to have a right to refuse when it comes to sending data onto the internet. But then when you think about regulations or the fact that these devices are not really something that one person can really completely understand and work with. It's like the equivalent question would be, do you want to make euthanasia legal? Right?
No, I think it's possible. I mean,
like it depends. Yeah. So in the US, there is a whole debate about gun laws. Right? Same thing with regard to a car. You don't know when you are doing something with your food, and for some reason or the other, your car goes and rams into someone on the.
I've been doing my test.
Yeah, so Tesla has FSD, but so then FSD is something that they have to take care of. They are responsible for it, right?
But still, because they have a proper warning that you are still responsible for it, Tesla is still not responsible for any crash.
That's all legal loopholes, right? Some way or the other, the individual is the last person to get, is the first person to get beaten up, and corporations the last.
So then from a practical perspective, it makes sense more to actually give the control to the user.
I wish things were in that time, like I said, and the enthusiasm really wants that happens, but then you have to convince the government, it's like corporations to give you control.
If you think about it,
If you are rich, then yes, you can easily do that.
especially with cars.
Mark, would you like to cut?
No, what I'm saying is that that's how the Japanese conquered, really took over the American car market back in the 1980s, because they had a lot of third-party vendors and all that. They just opened up. American manufacturers were really tight-hold. You could only use their components, etc. But the Japanese was for certain parts, there would be 10 manufacturers, like OEMs basically.
Yeah.
And that's why you have that JDM, right? The Japanese domestic market cars, Nissan, and all those things came out of it. And they just completely.
Right now, in the US, John Deere is currently facing a lot of problems.
Yes. So I think EVs will go through that transition, but now because big tech has such a rapid hold on these things, അത് നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ഭയങ്കര ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാണ് ഒരു ടെസ്ല റിപ്പയർ ചെയ്ത് ഭയങ്കര ഓവർ ചാർജ് ചെയ്യും. ഒരു സ്പ്രിംഗ് മാറ്റിയപ്പോൾ തന്നെ എനിക്ക് $2,000 അവർ ചാർജ് ചെയ്യും. സ്പ്രിംഗ് മാറ്റി.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah.
So
we'll cut for tea.
Okay.
We'll have a small tea break and then.
So if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, we just.
Thanks.
10 minutes break here, the second chocolate, which is lemons.
Okay, myself here, I'm part of IBS. First of all, thanks for the opportunity. Thanks to FOSS team and thanks to IBS for giving me a chance to present this topic. And so, as I said, I'm part of IBS for the last 8 years, and we work as a solution architect and mainly focusing on designing closely coupled solutions that are microservices, then cloud, mainly focusing on cloud domains, and more than this can solve problems on corporate domains, which is our other business, right? Now, for this topic, I will be presenting something about a type of operator. So before going to that, I just want to know how many of you have any cloud experience, something like AWS, GCP? Wow, great. Fine. So how many of you had software experience, like you created some application and you hosted somewhere in your machine or some on-prem service? Anyone? Okay, last. Great. So this it's a match of products. This is kind of no, but I will try to make it in a meeting anyway. So the experience guys usually bit boring, but I have to all your things. So the topic is operator. So we will be discussing about some things called infrastructure as a code, and what does operator, what is Terraform, how this can be implemented, what is the benefit and the so on-prem service, how many of you know what is on-prem service or on-prem databases? Yeah, those kind of resume and also speaker. Just come on. What is on-prem databases?
Running on the office or data center like that view, running on systems that view.
Exactly. So we have an application. And this happens most of the time.
You use the other mic.
No, I do sometimes, that's right. So where are we? So the idea is to mic, and when I do the on. So while I am use my mic, I have to do some hands-on. That's why I prefer to use this. Okay. So on-prem data centers. So these are basically nothing else. He mentioned we have an application and we will have a set of infrastructure. Without the code, without the infrastructures, these applications are nothing. So we need to have a proper infrastructures. When I say infrastructures, this could be a machine, this could be a network, everything. So these are in the long run, if you see, maintained by our own organizations. Like if I am starting a company, I will have a corner room where I will be hosting my infrastructures, networking, everything. So this is on-prem service. This looks fine, but this is the person. This is the reality of a person working on-prem database. You have a lot of volume, it's very tough. Now, there are few issues or any concerns on-prem database. We have to pay them. We have to pay them like, if you are using or not using, irrespective of that, we have to pay the money. That's a one concern. This kind of a data center. We have to make AI, what is we have to this nothing. So many issues with the on-prem data centers. Then there is cloud. Okay, so people started thinking about cloud. People started migrating all their applications to cloud. Cloud, everything is being by cloud. Anyone? So, correct. So basically, it's not, if I am going to start my company, I am not going to manage my infrastructure. I will onboard those into some cloud providers and they will be doing what we have to do. That's what the cloud do. And everything would be kind of a very self-service. And I don't need to pay every time. If I'm using something, then only I need to pay. That's the benefit of cloud. And it has a lot of other benefits like it's very scalable, very resilient. Not much in that. So these are the few top and cloud providers, AWS, Azure, Cloud. And I hope at least few of you might have an account in AWS and you will be experienced or you may be doing some steps on creating a mission in AWS. So we were telling about we have a on-prem service, then we move in the cloud. Now, is that enough for us? It's not enough. So when we are creating something on the cloud, say a machine in the cloud, it's we either go to the provider and we will be having some console by saying that hey, I need to create a machine, I need to create a database through the console or with the SAP commands. Okay. Here we are actually very tightly coupled with this kind of a providers. Now we have something called infrastructure as a code. Can you the story? Here, I hope I will use high level. At least Baltimore may know my identity, right? So imagine high level. Imagine going, he was writing, hey, I need a machine, I need a database by simple text. Now, just simply writing this magic wand is giving you a machine or giving you a database. Okay. This is what actually infrastructure as a code. So if you need a computer, say if you need a database, you can simply write, I need a database, I need a NoSQL database, I need a Redis, I need an S3, I need an EC2. You just simply write with this spec as a code, just like a programming language. You will be getting this infrastructure. That's what called infrastructure as a code. I hope that code is clear, right? So this is more like it looks like you have some person who is writing the code. That's like hyper. So this portion infrastructure as a code. Now when you are writing this code, when you say, hey, just like we are building a home. So before building the home, we will have some architecture design, like how our floor looks like, how many square feet I need. Same way, this is the first step would be planning how my infrastructure is. Once we plan it, just apply. So whatever we plan, this going to do. That's a magic. Doing it, infrastructure. So Terraform. Has anyone heard about this? Terraform. So what is Terraform? Can you
it's a domain-specific language for infrastructure support.
Correct. So, as you heard, this is basically infrastructure code where we will be creating. So, Terraform is a language, and we can write all this code in Terraform, and this will be creating the resources for us. So Terraform being there for many years, nearly 9 years, this was an open source community. The people who love this open source, they started contributing. Like they started, they spent their whole time on this particular idea of creating a web. And this is what people felt. See, top strings. Like when who are using Terraform, when you type Terraform apply, this infrastructures were created somewhere on the cloud. So as a developer, sometimes I can feel like this. Okay, there is a machine created, there is an infrastructure created In the long run, it was not the case. I need to go and buy some ticket, I need to go understand a lot of things, but it was not the case of when Terraform came. Sometimes I feel like this. So Terraform was like this. I assume there's a person who's doing all the stuff, whatever I like. But you know what happened? On August 10, 2023, overnight, this Terraform was no longer open source. So you just think about the people who contributed to this service. 9 years they spent their energy, they spent their time, and overnight, without any further notification, this Terraform made a licensed. So people, developers were really panicked because this is questioning the open source community. Okay, so many, I don't want to go to the controversy of this part, but you can Google and get to know what this is all about. So there's some superhero open. I would say Linux Foundation. So Linux came and told HashiCorp is the company who is mainly owning this Terraform. So Linux Foundation and other giant folks sent a couple of mails to the HashiCorp and saying that hey, change the Terraform back into the open source. So 3 weeks there is no response came back. Then what we done is the Linux Foundation, they gathered, they decided they want to create something new, an alternative of Terraform. So what Linux Foundation is believing, the operating system Linux, Kubernetes and Terraform, these should be at the building block of our modern society. So if say many young leaders will go into the IT field, we will be knowing the value of this kind of a technology. So it's still believed, or I will say the reality is, without these 3 technologies, the Linux operating system, Kubernetes and Terraform, these kind of a technology must be there as an open source so that the world can move in a better way. So that's why they started creating OpenTool. The name is very funny. It was initially called Open Terraform, but there was a confusion in the name and then people changing it to OpenTool. This is their manifesto. You can just read it. So as I said, 9 years of their time, they are spending everything on open source. Then over a day, it's changed into a business license. Any doubts so far? Are you on board? Okay. Now, allow me to show the magic. So I will be creating few infrastructures in front of you by doing some hands-on. Maybe it will have some glitches. So for you, I just give you some advanced hands-on. So this is an official website of OpenTool, which is saying about how to install OpenTool. So basically, what we done is they form the source code Terraform. So 1.6 Terraform version, they literally for what is called we ask this. So any version from 1.6 above is a license. So they copy 1.6 as a base to OpenTool. And what they have is they are implemented through code where they can migrate any Terraform script into open source. Then that will make other side easy. So we will be seeing how to install. For modules, I have a Mac, so I have to use. So I have to use command to install. Alright, so I want to install it takes a couple of times. Now let me show my image. So I already installed it. And I can be able to see, okay, this is new installed. Okay. Now let's create a recipe instance. So before we go to that, I will want to create a recipe instance. I know what is recipe instance. It's actually a machine in the elements, in the cloud. That's what we call recipe instance. So here, say, this is the address console. So I will go, if you look on this, there will be all results. Okay. So let me create the launch instance.
So before we do this, should we actually link our accounts, like AWS account or DCT account, should we link it to this?
Yes. So when we are applying this command, right, we need to tell where the domain will be implemented. So I will come to the presentation. So I'm creating an instance. Choosing Linux as the operating system. I'm choosing creator. I'm selecting the key pair, which is how to log into the machine. I'm allowing if you see, this is not very good when we are already creating a recipe instance. It will take a couple of seconds to create. So, if you do this explaining that you will see that I created the IP. So these are the network information and all. Now, if you look at this I did a couple of things. Now let's do the same thing with the open one. Okay. Here, this is my project. Okay, start simple instance. See, whatever I have as a mouse click and everything, is a common component. If you look at it, because I'm saying, hey, I need to create this database as a provider, as a hostess. Okay. Now I need to say, I need a resource. I'm not going to do much technical stuff or syntax for the time being, but you can understand that. So I will say, AWS is provided, and I have to create a server. So Google will start taking this out. And this is all the system only, and this is the library. And I believe, okay, this is somewhere. Now, if you remember my slide.
One question.
Yes.
From where did you get the MI?
So this is actually, we can get it when you're creating an execute.
But before that, you have to manually create, right?
Certainly.
You will get that into instance ID, right?
Instance ID. So it's not instance ID, it's an AI one. So AI one is basically
Image.
it's an image, like what components is condition, it's a package. So so I have a plan. Then I have a number. Okay, different plan. So I will say 10% plan. So if you say this is so you say okay, if you join the area, so this is time. Then you can see the an instance will be created. Okay. So when we are creating a recent instance, those who are already selected, they know that we cannot simply create a machine. We need to say what is the network. We need to tell what is the security groups. We need to tell what is like we need to tell what is the operating system. So all the code has to be conveyed. So here I will need to mention any of this. Because of that, it takes the default values. So now let me apply. So we will ask about what the procedure for say procedure. So the math is happening. This is would take a couple of seconds to create. So first it's trying to create the infrastructure like the network, then security views. Here you can see a new instance is created. Okay. So I will so you take it, write it code, just say a upload. Alright, so this is takes some time to complete. Meanwhile, anybody's any doubts? Okay, I have one question. What if I execute the command once again to apply? Will it go to create one more instance? How about we say we will create a new one more instance?
Can you show the code?
Yeah, this is the same code. I am going to execute the to apply once again.
Same already.
So there is a mix and match of S and O. You don't create it.
Because of the name?
Okay. The answer is it won't create because whenever we are creating something on the cloud, it's keep a reference that what is the state of my cloud and what is the state of my code. So if you report it, it will say to file over here. The screen created by the wrapper itself. So if I again do that, changes nothing. Now if I do a play, you see what is destroyed is not executed. What? The other data which are given us before. I think if I give every value, it won't go to delete it once again. So since I put the simple values, in the deployed areas in the network once again. That is. Otherwise, it won't do. Alright? So since I need to give in the factor nodes, the default value is again representing and this will be notified. But if you provide the actual company value, it won't notify. Now let's take a look at
What if we want to create multiple instances? Do we need to create multiple legal files?
so multiple instances altogether different story. We can create a copy the code once again, or we can do that as a loop, or we can create a out of scaling loop, which you can mention how many instances you need.
In that case, what will change from the what tag or what value? E will change.
So if you ask me very clearly how to show this code, this would be the complete code of creating a recipe instance.
Isn't the name really identifier title kind of a thing? The name that you work is it more like an identifier?
So the name actually the identifier which is being there to use. But if you see this one,
Name you provided, right?
yes, this is I basically whatever you trying to create over the console, that is a reference in our graph. Similarly, let me move to another further. So S3. So here I have already delivered manual S3. You know S3, right? Just it's kind of a simple storage. Now I will be showing how to create an S3 layer graph. So same thing. Just go here. I'm saying that I need an S3 bucket, and this is the bucket maker. So in this stage, there is no line to add. Let's say tofu. Let me straight coming. So it's going to create an S3 bucket. In this thing, a second S3 bucket created. Now you can think the beauty of this project. Here I am not directly interacting with the elements. Tomorrow my organization have a different suggestion that I need to go to Google or GCP, or I need to go to IBM, and or I need to go to Oracle. So I need to switch every my configuration with a different cloud provider. So if you have an infrastructure as a code, then it is a matter of minimal change. Otherwise, just imagine like the database systems. I have to do the same my more cloud providers. I have to go there and I have to do it, which is very tedious for us. Alright.
Quick question. So a lot of these things are default values which are set inside open source community has set as defaults, right?
No, this is not set by open community. So AWS itself has the default value. So those values being there.
So aren't these values actually understood?
It's like, say for example, I am going to create a instance in AWS console. There will be a default value of. You can either choose it or create it.
So this is already built into the language.
Yes. So now I want to build this infrastructure. So whoever working with the AWS have this experience. Like we created a couple of resources and we wanted to build it. And another people there to build it. And that is very good. And most of the resources are being there. So this power is built against simultaneously. So it's going to destroy whatever resource that I created. Now let's go back. The one which I created got completed. So if we do the same for the second instance, otherwise I need to write again somewhere.
So I have a question. Certain cloud providers have specific services that are not replicated by other service providers. GCP might have services that are not AWS, right?
Yes.
Like AI related stuff. That is not supported by providers.
So, okay, nice question. Basically, these are principles, and each of these cloud providers are implementing those principles, like the virtual machine. So in GCP, you have a machine in so if in AWS, it is EC2. Same way, what Terraform is or is, it is acoustic to the providers, meaning it not coupled with what they have already said. So we have an acoustic language which will be executed, and that will going to be propagated with the expected providers. So if you look on AWS has cloud formation.
I mean, underneath the hood, these are all API calls.
Yeah, these are. These are basically, there are commands. Say for example, AWS. It has AWS CLI command. So those commands will be executed by the operator. So whatever they provided, they have their
Can you
command.
show us configuring which provider?
Yeah, sure.
So I suppose it's like a common set of principles across these providers is what they provide.
Here you see.
And there's no standards provided by local tools.
Okay, so you're setting the provider on the top of
And it's just done in the namespace level. Like,
So basically, this is HCL languages. These are declarative languages. In program, we used to write to sequence like this has to go it's not the case of a wrapper. This you can put it in anywhere, but it's good to put it also. So the wrapper has this intelligence to know what is activity, what should we take first and last. So for example, if you make a data instance, network has something given first option. But when you are entering one, you can give the network details at the bottom of your So, right now we made about two use cases. One is we created an execute stuff, one is we created an explain stuff. This is good for a beginner, but I know the stories are which one, I know software DevOps, people might have those are interested on really key real-time use cases. So this example will be suitable to them. So I'm not telling others what we follow, but just giving some examples. Let's create many expected institutions, meaning that you need to have your own network, you need to have your own subnet, you need to have your own HTTP protocols, you need to have your own security environment. So for that, so here you see, first I created a file. Now I have to create a file and then go data. Okay, this is what I'm going to do the whole place. So if you look at, you have a physical instance, you have a VPC, you have an internet connection, you have a certain security tools, you have a this is one the ideal case. When we are going into a fraction of some applications. So first what we need is an AWS. So first we need to tell what is our AWS provider. So for that, provider is AWS and I want to be there in Mumbai. So I'm telling that next I need a VPC. So I'm going So it will take about 2 days. So meanwhile we are going to separate all the system. We have the option to add variables. We have the option to dynamically pass as a parameter. You can do a download if you want. So those are the available. So I just want to show you that there is nothing in the visual as of now. I was really want to show the graph. Yes. So there is tutorial there. You also know subset the invention, like what is the syntax, how to make it, for reason, just follow the change. This is the connection from the network gateway to our network. This is the subnet. This is the relation from the subnet to the router layer. This is a security tool, which means saying like whether you should download or any connection from the external network. And this is the instance. So I'm just showing that there are 7 items going to be created. Now, we are not simply creating a machine, right? When we are having this machine, our application should be there in the machine. Otherwise, it's not for the simply creating a machine. So, when a machine being booted, you need to copy our application from the external world or from the repository to our machine. So, for that, we need to have some startups that to make it. So, for that, we have a write a simple script for the time where I installed an HTTP server by simply saying so it's taking initialization. This will take 1 or 2 minutes. So in your application, it will be about copying your task, the jar into this machine and you will start it. But in order to this knowledge, not this approach. We have something called CKS deployment, where we do a Kubernetes deployment instead of doing this. So the application is moving. I have this template. So this is the same API over here. I just show you the application, which is an internet terminal. Okay, this will be your application when you do it. So that's about. So that's about it, and there are some any features coming in after the food. Okay, I'm not going to spend much time on it, like security, your file, your data level. So that's it from my side. This is I hope you got some idea, not a huge idea, but I got you to have some basic concept of what is Terraform, what is it. Initially, we had this impression that these are very tough to learn. Initially, I was basically a Java developer. Then this kind of a database comes and just come. I had this initial tendency of what is this DevOps? People are they doing anything extra magic? It's not the case. To be very honest, these are again underneath. If you know the bare concept, this can be written by ourselves. Now, the programmers are more into this kind of infrastructure as a code, where we don't need to rely on teams like SRE or whatever that we can do by. So, Linux will start contributing more to FOSS and infrastructure code in the going forward. And the open source community will be growing. So that's from my side.
So I don't have a question. It's not there. Terraform.
Yes.
So you said Linux, Terraform, Kubernetes were like the foundation.
It's not really possible.
Yeah, nobody agrees to that. Kubernetes is an. I just want to get the idea of why would you say Kubernetes is like a core part of the cloud native. I mean, cloud native yes, maybe, but only a few companies just still use Kubernetes.
So Kubernetes is the one. So I will tell you from my experience. I've been using Kubernetes for the last couple of years.
Okay.
So the benefit of Kubernetes, if you go for a distributed instance model, you may say, predefining that only the OGB, finding this method of CPU which is speaker of hardware. Now, when coming to Kubernetes, we have everything on the box, where we can tell that I need only 100 MB, I need only this method of CPU. That is Kubernetes, we will do for. So we will have a code instead of the EC2 concepts. We have a code. That's the benefit of having a code, which is very easy to manage, very easy to scale. And if you look at the other aspect, Kubernetes will come up with load balancers. It will can be easily attached to the whatever upstream DNS, but it is not the case for if you click on the other code. You will explicitly create the load balancer. It explicitly is a TSA. But Kubernetes, you Dockerizing, you are Dockerizing your application. Dockerizing, without Dockerizing, it will be asked to main set. It's run on my machine, it's not running on other machine. So Dockerization is kind of a Microsoft it's kind of a skill like
I can second that. But still, Kubernetes for how much scale are we talking about? Like you said scale, right?
But this so Kubernetes would scale as much of our cluster sizes. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So the scripts which you are writing for OpenWorld, is it the same with Terraform?
Yes. More or less the same. This class I'm writing. OpenWorld is a form of Terraform 1.6, more using the HCL language. So now from to 1.7, there's different changes.
Why I'm asking is like, how much is the adoption of OpenTofu compared to the suppose I am skilled in OpenTofu and the project which I am working in is similarly Terraform. Will I be able to?
Yes. It's won't be much challenge for you. It's like a person who's knowing Java or learning coding, so it won't be much challenge. It is very convenient for learning.
You're talking about like migration and you're talking about migration.
Yes.
When it comes to like machine is satisfying, but what if it's like specific activity that one company has, like for example EBS, that Amazon has, it has blobs of like that setup. So another platform will have that same thing.
So it means that so basically that requirement, right, it won't be supported in your new providers, which means that you cannot implement that. Say for example, you say Amazon is giving you an XYZ offering. The other providers isn't giving you an XYZ offering.
Maybe I like to reframe what you asked. Let's say there is like a file which explains multiple services, right? And one of those services needs to be provided by the service provider.
Yes. It can happen.
Then does the whole thing fail?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course it will fail. Imagine that there is no virtual instance concept in GCP. If we are trying to create something which is not there, definitely the script will fail.
The entire thing will fail or just one?
No, this script will fail.
Okay, let's suppose.
It's as like a...
So it will roll back?
Yes, that's what we do. Terraform, if you look at the code, there is another file called Terraform backup file, which you have in initial state. So whenever you do the migration, take plan first. So plan will give you a backup.
Is there any standards, open standards for the cloud providers to build their APIs in such a way that Terraform can work seamlessly across the?
So it's basically the other way. So everything is basically a concept. And say for example, serverless design. You have a laptop in AWS. So say for example, you have a cache. So you have a Redis in AWS. Similarly, cache is a concept. NoScale is a concept. Autoscaling is a concept. So all these concepts being implemented by different providers. Now those providers have their own command to execute this concept. What Terraform or OpenTofu doing is wrapping those code and executing.
So if Terraform want to add one more provider, then it has to change its code. Or the
what we need to change is there is if you look at the code, there is a provider I mentioned as AWS.
Yeah, I told you like on the implementation side, like if the OpenTofu want to admit one more new provider, then the like the burden is on the OpenTofu to build by this model.
That's what the community do.
Okay.
They whatever these cloud providers are offering, they are trying to convert that as a resource only OpenTofu.
So there is no such standard for the APIs and as of now.
I'm not sure what you meant by standard. So OpenTofu has an HCL code which is agnostic to what is the provider is. So you just need to focus on the HCL code.
It's just like an interpreter or a compiler where it changes everything into the API request.
Yeah, I got it. I was
So you want to have these standards?
Yeah.
You have to. Each of the standard which all providers can create. So
that's what I have said. Like, there is concept coming, like white coming. These providers have these features and they, competitive. They will be coming with the new features. So, respectively, the partner providers will compete and then they will be offering in a different way.
Is there a way by which, let's say, the interpreter converted the config file to a bunch of API calls, that we can add our own hyper customize that.
Yes, yes. So OpenTofu is giving something called micro providers.
Local provider?
It's called micro providers. If for example you creating you want to create your own provider commands, your own system, specific code that can be executed. This is a new feature coming in OpenTofu 1.0. Yes, yes, because that's what I was saying. Plan. So if the script has some syntactic error or any kind of a semantic error, it will show as a compiler. And if the plan is success, then okay to apply the plan. However, there are instances the plan will fail to execute because of the IO issues. Sometimes, say for example, when you are creating an instance, there might be privileges required to create the instance. So, say for example, you need to create an EC2 instance, right? So, EC2 instance creation needs some IAM permission, like create EC2 instance permission and all. If you are applying the code and that code is running behind that IAM code, so if that IAM code doesn't have the privileges of creating this EC2 instance, it won't create it. So whatever you are doing as a configuration in the backend, that backend IAM code should have the privilege to execute it.
From the particular version. We need now the change that happens later on.
It is OpenTofu is acting as a different organization, like Linux Foundation. What their plan is, they will be audience community respond their subjects and they will be creating features for that. I don't know for like Terraform is going to implement something in the future, but that will be available on OpenTofu. Right? That's what I'm saying. The plan of OpenTofu business, they have a different way of execution. They may adopt, they never adopt. Yes.
You were telling create as an infrastructure as a code. You can create something as infrastructure as a code and go to a different provider. It will be easy. It's not like you choose AWS. It will apply the AWS listing fee.
That's what I'm trying to say. This code is supposed to make providers. Today the provider is AWS. If you want to move the cloud to Google, then the provider will move to GCP. And if whatever resource associated now is supported by Google, then you are strictly seamlessly seamless.
Complicated
Yes, this is agnostic to the provider part.
If this particular condition, then
we have a conditional execution. But still, this infrastructure code is evolving.
No more questions? We jump to the next talk. Any more questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We didn't really see the next one. Kochi based team, Bodhish and team developed software. So, COVID time war setup. So, I use software care. So, I work on 10 bed ICU project. This project is software remote areas healthcare accessible. But today's topic is not related to any of that. It's about freedom, education, and free software. So, freedom. And then freedom. Okay. Swadhantra, yes. I guess you will mic and at any point of time interrupt me. Because the content is very low. So any point of time, if you feel that there is content, give me content. Okay. So use the mic as good as possible. Okay. So I hope. Oh, size. Okay. So this topic was actually intended to be there in Busan. Busan is a birds of feather session. Plan the topic. So it basically is like college so free software use help community help so it's not technical. As you can understand by now, it's not at all technical. Maybe 10% technical, 90% it's philosophy and storytelling. So, I'll assure you, so, yeah, again.
Yeah, production body.
Okay. So, I was mostly introduced to free and open source software thanks to the FOSS cell of NIT Calicut. So, FOSS cell NIT Calicut is actually responsible for conducting one of the longest running FOSS themed event in India. 2005 so like, okay. 2005 India FOSS themed gathering and FOSS Meet. So like, അതിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യും അങ്ങനെ കുറേ കാര്യം ചെയ്തപ്പോഴാണ് എനിക്ക് മോസ്റ്റ്ലി ഫോഴ്സ് എന്താണെന്നും ഓക്കെ ദിസ് ഈസ് സംതിങ് ഓഫ് വാല്യൂ ആൻഡ് ദിസ് ഈസ് സംതിങ് ഐ ഷുഡ് ബി ഡൂയിങ് ഇൻ മൈ ലൈഫ് എന്നൊക്കെ മനസ്സിലാവാൻ തുടങ്ങി. സോ ഫോഴ്സ് മീ. സോ കീ പ്രൊജക്ട് മൈ എൻറ്റയർ ഫ്രീ സോഫ്റ്റ്വെയർ ജേർണി സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ബിക്കോസ് കോവിഡ് ആയിരുന്നു ആൻഡ് ഐ ഹാഡ് ദിസ് വൺ ഫോൺ. നോക്കിയയുടെ ഒരു ഫോൺ. കുറേ ആൾക്കാർ ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെന്ന് എനിക്കറിയത്തില്ല. നോക്കിയയുടെ പണ്ടത്തെ ഫോണുകളിൽ ഒരു ഫീച്ചർ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, പ്ലേ വി ആർ റേഡിയോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു ഫീച്ചർ. സോ ആരെങ്കിലും ട്രൈ ചെയ്തോട്ടുണ്ടോ പ്ലേ വി ആർ റേഡിയോ? ബേസിക്കലി എന്താ ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ ഫോണിലുള്ള ഒരു പാട്ട് നമുക്ക് പ്ലേ വി ആർ റേഡിയോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ബട്ടൺ വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് നമുക്കൊരു ഫ്രീക്വൻസി സെറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. ആ ഫ്രീക്വൻസിയിൽ ട്യൂൺ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ആ ഒരു പരിസരത്ത്, ഒരു ഫോണിന്റെ പവറിനുള്ള ആ പരിസരത്ത് ഏത് റേഡിയോയിൽ ആ ഫ്രീക്വൻസി വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാലും നമ്മുടെ ഫോണിൽ കേൾക്കണ ആ പാട്ട് കേൾക്കില്ല, ട്രാൻസ്മിറ്റ് ചെയ്യണ പാട്ട് അതിന് കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റും. But I was like, okay, when I'm back in campus, you know what should I do? I was like an electronics and communication engineering vidyarthi. So I was like, okay, I should do this. എൻ്റെ ഫോൺ അയക്കണം. എന്നിട്ട് അതിൽ നിന്ന് ആ ട്രാൻസ്മിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന സാധനം ഒരു ആംപ്ലിഫയർ എല്ലാം വെച്ച് ബൂസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് എൻ്റെ റൂമിൽ നിന്ന് വല്ലതും ട്രാൻസ്മിറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നാട്ടുകാർക്ക് വേണം കേൾക്കാമല്ലോ. സോ let's not discuss legal perspectives. ആ ഐഡിയ കിട്ടി. പിന്നെ മനസ്സിലായി ഈ ഇടത്തൊന്നും ക്യാമ്പസിൽ പോകത്തില്ല, ബിക്കോസ് കോവിഡ് ടേക്കിംഗ് ഹിറ്റ് ആൻഡ് ലൈക്ക് പീപ്പിൾ ആർ ലൈക്ക് എന്താ പറയാ ഒന്നും ചെയ്യാനില്ലാണ്ട് വീട്ടിലിരിക്കുക. ഓൺലൈൻ ക്ലാസ്സസ് ലൈക്ക് ഓക്കെ സെക്കൻഡ് ഇയർ ആൻഡ് തേർഡ് ഇയർ എൻ്റെ എൻറ്റയർ സ്റ്റഡീസ് ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ ബെഡിലായിരുന്നു. Okay, so like, okay, it's not gonna happen. പിന്നെയാണ് മനസ്സിലായത്, okay, there is a thing called internet radio. Okay, internet radio is a thing. So I was like, okay, internet radio. So like, already കുറേ പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോംസ് എല്ലാം ഇങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. So I worked on that. സെറ്റ് ഒക്കെ ചെയ്തു. പക്ഷെ I didn't understand what was, going on underneath or anything. Then, thankfully, COVID കുറച്ച് കുറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ പെട്ടിയും കിടക്കൊക്കെ ആയിട്ട് നേരെ ക്യാമ്പസിലേക്ക് വന്നു. സോ മോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ക്യാമ്പസ് ഹാസ് എ പ്രിറ്റി ഗുഡ് ഇന്റർനെറ്റ് ഫെസിലിറ്റീസ്. ലൈക്ക് ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഉണ്ട് അടിപൊളി ഒരു ഇന്റർനെറ്റ് കണക്ടിവിറ്റിയാണ്. സോ കുറെ ഫീച്ചേഴ്സ് ഒക്കെ ഉള്ള നെറ്റ്വർക്കാണ്. സോ ഇറ്റ്സ് ലൈക്ക് ഓക്കെ, വൈ നോട്ട് ഡു ദിസ് ഇൻ അവർ നെറ്റ്വർക്ക് ഓൺലി. ഓക്കെ, സോ ലൈക്ക് NITC നെറ്റ്വർക്കിൽ നിന്ന് മാത്രം ആക്സസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു റേഡിയോ സർവീസ്, അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പ്ലാൻ തുടങ്ങി. സോ അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ എക്സ്പ്ലോർ ചെയ്തപ്പോഴാണ് അഷ്യൂറ കാസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സാധനം. It has no relation with Azure. It has no relation with Microsoft, by the way. So, Azure cache എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ സാധനം ഞാൻ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചു. And I tried to get funding from college to set up. എനിക്ക് കുറച്ച് എനിക്കൊരു ഡെഡിക്കേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു നെറ്റ്വർക്ക് കണക്ഷനും ഒരു ലാപ്ടോപ്പ് സെർവറും എല്ലാം ഞാൻ സെറ്റപ്പ് ചെയ്തു. സോ അഷ്യൂർ കാഷ് റൺ ചെയ്തു. നല്ല അടിപൊളിയായിട്ട് ഫെയിലിയർ ആയിരുന്നു, ആരും കേട്ടില്ല. സോ പക്ഷേ അഷ്യൂർ കാഷ് സെറ്റപ്പ് ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ I learned Docker and like Azure Cache was in Docker. So അങ്ങനെ കുറച്ച് സാധനം എനിക്ക് like absolutely no idea what Docker was, but still trying to set it up I learned what is Docker. Okay, അപ്പോൾ like പിന്നെ മനസ്സിലായത് Azure Cache മാത്രമല്ല ഉള്ളത്. There are like lot of stuff. Dockerized അല്ലാതെ കുറേ സോഫ്റ്റ്വെയർസ് you can actually run it in your own network. So and ആ ടൈമിലാണ് ഫസ്റ്റ് ഇയർ പിള്ളേർ വന്നത്. സോ എൻ്റെ പ്രീവിയസ് എൻട്രൻസിൽ നിന്ന് എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായ കാര്യമാണ് സ്വന്തം ബാച്ചിലെ പിള്ളേരെ കൊണ്ട് ഒരു പണി എടുപ്പിക്കരുത്. ബിക്കോസ് ഒരു ബഹുമാനം ഉണ്ടാവില്ല, ഒരു റെസ്പെക്ട് ഉണ്ടാവില്ല, നോ വൺ കെയർസ്. പക്ഷേ ജൂനിയേഴ്സ് ചേട്ടാ ചെയ്യാൻ ചേട്ടാ. സോ ഞാൻ എന്ത് ചെയ്തെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ ട്രൈ ചെയ്തതാണ് മാസ്റ്റഡോൺ യൂസ് ചെയ്യാത്ത ആരെങ്കിലും യൂസ് ചെയ്തവരായിരുന്നു. Okay. It's fine. So, Ana side. Yeah. So, Mastodon എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ട്വിറ്റർ പോലെ തന്നെ. പക്ഷേ ട്വിറ്റർ ഓർ എക്സ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എലോണിന്റെ കയ്യിലാണെങ്കിൽ we could all be alone with Mastodon because സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് നമുക്കൊരു Mastodon ഇൻസ്റ്റൻസ് തുടങ്ങാം. Okay. It's very easy to set up. Ruby on Railsലായിട്ടാണ് ഉണ്ടാക്കിയത്. പക്ഷേ again, without having any knowledge how Mastodon is written or anything, I was able to simply Docker compose up വെച്ച് എൻ്റെ ആ നെറ്റ്വർക്കിൻ്റെ അകത്ത് ഈ ആയിട്ട് തന്നെ എനിക്ക് പറ്റും. ആൻഡ് കുറെ ഫസ്റ്റ് ഇയേഴ്സ് പിള്ളേർക്കൊക്കെ എടുത്ത് ഞാൻ അക്കൗണ്ട് കൊടുത്തു. സോ ഇമെയിൽ സർവീസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല, OTP അങ്ങനെ ഒന്നും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. ജസ്റ്റ് മാനുവലായിട്ട് അവരൊരു കമാൻഡ് ലൈനിൽ കയറി ക്രിയേറ്റ് അക്കൗണ്ട് ചെയ്യാം. സോ അങ്ങനെ ക്രിയേറ്റ് അക്കൗണ്ട് എടുത്തില്ല. Nothing significant really happened. ചുമ്മാ പിള്ളേര് അവരുടെ ഡെയിലി ലൈഫ് or like മാത്സ് ടീച്ചർ ഇത് ചെയ്തു or like ഇത് ബേസിക്കലി ചുമ്മാ ട്വീറ്റ് or like tweets അവരിടാൻ തുടങ്ങി. So again I realized that as a community this gossiping. So പക്ഷേ I wanted to make this എന്താ പറയാ കുറച്ചും കൂടി ആക്സസിബിൾ, എല്ലാവർക്കും വേണം എന്നൊക്കെയുള്ള രീതിയിലായി. പക്ഷേ the problem with self-hosting is that you have to take a lot of responsibility. Okay, so ഒരു അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്റീവ് ആളോട് ചോദിച്ചു എന്താ, so let's say we go with this, what if നമ്മുടെ നെയ്ബറിംഗ് കൺട്രിയുടെ ഒരു ഫ്ലാഗ് അതിനകത്ത് വന്നാൽ നമ്മൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും? I'm not saying which neighboring country. അങ്ങനെ കുറെ issues എല്ലാം and like so their side of things is actually genuine. സെൽഫ് ഹോസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ആ പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോമിന്റെ ഉത്തരവാദിത്തം കുറച്ചൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ എടുക്കേണ്ടി വരും. ഈവൻ തോ മെറ്റാ ഡസന്റ് ടേക്ക് ഇറ്റ്, നമ്മൾ എടുക്കേണ്ടി വരും. സോ അങ്ങനെ കുറെ ചലഞ്ചസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ ട്രൈ ചെയ്തത് ഒറ്റ സ്ലൈഡ് എടുത്താൽ കുറെ നേരം സ്റ്റാക്ക് ആയിക്കണം, സ്ലൈഡ് മാറ്റാം. സോ ഇതിന്റെയൊക്കെ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് ആണ്, ഇതാണ് ബേസിക്കലി ഈ സെഷനിലൂടെ ഞാൻ ട്രൈ പറയാൻ നോക്കുന്നത്. I mean,
knowing how they read on the brand.
Okay. So, yeah, inside network. Okay, this is being recorded. I mean, permission was taken for the radio. So, okay. Why teach freedom? എന്തുകൊണ്ട് സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം പഠിച്ചു കൊടുക്കണം? സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം ആരെങ്കിലും പഠിപ്പിച്ചു കൊടുക്കണം? Like, is it human nature to be free or is it human nature to be not free? No. Not free. Okay.
I think people teach other people not to be afraid.
I mean, yeah, the way they are brought up. Yeah, philosophy. So the way that we are brought up, see, so most of us, not most of us, most of the people actually don't care about freedom. Okay, especially when it comes to software. Convenience is our biggest factor. And like, it's for me also. I mean, I WhatsApp use okay, and a friend Madhav, WhatsApp pay okay. What are you using? Phone pay. What's the difference? I mean, it's like, okay, Meta, no, okay, but to be fair, we are living in a situation where we'll have to, either choose between freedom or like no social life. Okay, another situation, that's why again the question arises: why teach freedom? Because most of the people are actually very tech savvy people, and that's okay. Because everyone tech savvy people like and medical like profession doesn't need to be tech savvy. As a community, these tech people should be able to help the non-tech people also. So that's our community freedom teaching and housing. So like again, when it comes to client-side softwares, okay, so like free software use like client-based machine. Our convenience in the Adobe Inkscape use like there is no cost involved in it. I mean, Inkscape you can download it for free, or like GIMP. You can download it for free and use. And like there are like people like Ahmad here, Salih. He's like very good at GIMP. Like he once told me that okay, nee photo, like nee design, nee Photoshop because when you get into free software, there is a lot of customization, a lot of stuff you can do. But really, there are like very none of the actual standards of software teaching people are teaching GIMP. I mean, GIMP I പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് 10th class state syllabus ആയിരുന്നു. That's an initiative that's being done by the Kerala government, or like certain initiatives are being done, but still it's not enough. Convenience is our main hurdle. But when it comes to server-based softwares, that's even hard because server cost is a huge factor. So like, I am Diaspora community member. So free XMPP based, so like WhatsApp, Signal, and almost all the modern messaging services that you can think of right now is based on XMPP. Jabber, so yeah, XMPP protocol Facebook chat message, and you don't necessarily need to have a Facebook account. Okay, and so they restricted because yeah, exactly, Facebook. And yeah, okay. Sorry, okay. So basically, and that is here to stay because WhatsApp is a standard, and they are not gonna allow anyone else to take their share. Okay, Pakshe, there is hope because recently European Union laws are so people who are not people who are in Signal or Telegram should also be able to send messages to WhatsApp, and all the regulation pass European Union again the pitfall of non-free software. So another example will be okay, a specific institute of technology. So like, let's say they had a software for managing the students. Support system, okay, decision support system. They had a decision support system. So that was like Kerala like proper like software for managing students. പക്ഷേ it got to a point it was very old and like മറ്റു കോളേജുകൾക്കൊക്കെ like far superior സാധനങ്ങളുണ്ട്. Okay, പക്ഷേ they spend around 50 lakh rupees to find an alternative. Okay, and that alternative I can't load it in my mobile phone. Okay, so like this is the same institute that creates website for one of the biggest tech and cultural festival in South India, I'd say, and they handle a lot more traffic, like in ലക്ഷങ്ങളിലെ കണക്കിലാണ് they handling the traffic. So like there are students capable of building software at that level, and the body that make decisions are going with it, because that's a standard protocol, I guess, because you have to call tender ഏറ്റവും cheapest ഇത് തന്നെ ആൾക്ക് കൊടുക്കണം. So again അങ്ങനെ ഏറ്റവും cheapest ആയിട്ട് 50 ലക്ഷം രൂപ കൊണ്ട് ഉണ്ടാക്കിയ സോഫ്റ്റ്വെയർ you can't load it in your phone, and the UI is okay, I'm not even going there, and previously നമുക്ക് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ സെൽഫ് മാനേജ് ഒതന്റിക്കേഷൻ സിസ്റ്റം ആണ്. സോ ലൈക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടെ ID അടിക്കുന്നു, നിങ്ങൾ തന്നെ ജനറേറ്റ് ചെയ്തൊരു പാസ്വേഡ് അടിക്കുന്നു, you get logged in. And right now they implemented Google based authentication, as everyone will do, because that's a standard. Why do you need to create a self authenticated? Google കാര്യമുണ്ടല്ലോ, പിന്നെ എന്തിനാ നമ്മൾ വെറുതെ വേണ്ടാത്ത പരിപാടിക്ക് കിടന്നത്? പക്ഷെ the timing of this was like very crucial. Google used to give the G Suite like storage, like അടിപൊളിയായിട്ട് സ്റ്റോറേജ് ഇട്ടുമായിരുന്നു. So like I had friends who had like 250 GB homework files in their drives. So within like a second they are told delete all that, you get 2 GB. Okay, so that was literal backstabbing by Google. Okay, so I had around 26 GB, not homework files. It was mostly recordings of meetings. Okay, so all these files are like, yeah, I mean, not homework files, academic files. I had academic files in there. So over a short period of time, I was told to delete all this, or the alternative was you will get logged out of your account. And for registering your course and like doing anything that is academic, you need the account. So like many people actually faced issues with and they're registering and like signing up with this portal, okay, because they chose to go with Google. Okay, so there are like issues like this, and like this is only one of the issues. And again, coming back to the topic of this 50 lakh software, the issue is that our institute might have spent 50 lakh rupees. So തൊട്ടടുത്ത് വേറെ കോളേജ് ഉണ്ട്, അവർക്ക് ഈ സാധനമാണെങ്കിൽ again they will have to spend 50 lakh rupees, and maybe the same vendor will be providing the same software with maybe minor logo changes. Okay, but so ഈ ഒരു സമയത്താണ് like I'd like to like I mean, I don't have like a solution like okay, it's not like I developed a open source alternative to this and tell them okay, use this. I can't say that. But at the same time, like after like working in Open Healthcare Network, I feel like they actually did this because they identified that there is no the proper software to manage healthcare in an efficient manner, and they made it open source, and they made it as much as deployable as possible, because Open Healthcare and like almost all the software that Open Healthcare Network is building, you could deploy it anywhere, like GCP, AWS, OpenShift, എന്തിൽ വേണമെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഡിപ്ലോയബിൾ ആക്കുന്ന രീതിയിലാണ് അവർ ബിൽഡ് ചെയ്യണത്. ആർക്ക് വേണമെങ്കിലും എടുത്ത് ഡിപ്ലോയ് ചെയ്യാൻ പാകത്തിനാണ് ചെയ്യണത്. സോ ലൈക്ക് സിമിലർ ആക്ഷൻ ഷുഡ് ബി ടേക്കൺ ബൈ ദി educational community, because it's not the skill that we are lacking. എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ ഫീൽഡിൽ ഓൾറെഡി ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ 50,000 1 ലക്ഷം ട്രാഫിക് ഒക്കെ ഹാൻഡിൽ ചെയ്യാൻ പാകത്തിനുള്ള സോഫ്റ്റ്വെയർസ് ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട്. but they are not organized with a collective conscious, okay, freedom in education is required. എന്നൊരു ബോധം ഓർക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. So like that are mostly ഇതും അതിന്റെ സ്ലൈഡ് തന്നെയാണ്. Yes, okay. So I guess I covered this one also. So yeah, liberating nature. You are already building this. You are free. You don't have to like even like the previous software that we had. We got the source code. So the software that we spent 50 lakhs on, we don't get the source code. That was like already മനസ്സിലാക്കാവുന്ന കാര്യമായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷേ again സോ ചെറിയൊരു ബഗ് ആരെങ്കിലും കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചിട്ട് വിചാരിച്ചു. ലൈക്ക് ഓക്കെ ചേട്ടാ ഈ ബട്ടൺ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല, ഇതിങ്ങനെയല്ല വർക്ക് ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഓക്കെ അവർ ചിലപ്പോൾ അത് ഫിക്സ് ചെയ്യും and they'll charge you something, or like that's part of the servicing and like stuff like that. But at the same time, that could have been done much more efficiently in an open source environment. Okay, so the factors are considered. So again, okay, yeah. So I don't want to go already. So in the key takeaways, students yeah, okay, so as students, what I expect you to take away from this talk is that you don't, okay, I'm not good at building software. Okay, software and that too mostly ChatGPT or like people like Madhav help me out a lot. Okay, so I'm not good at building software, but I'm pretty good at deploying them. Okay, and I don't know, like if you need, okay, but definitely you need a passion for that. Okay, so I had that because deploying some software and people actually using it made my life better. I software deploy that's like of great significance to me. So as students, what you could do is try to deploy anything. Like a minimal item. So like, and already there are softwares that are built for you. Okay, you don't need to sit and okay, your question we need to solve it. Chances are someone else already had that problem and they have solved it for you. So in a college where most of you like so like use maybe WhatsApp or like softwares like proprietary softwares use but there might be a downside when it comes to convenience and easy to set up part, but if you apply that effort, you'll be learning that software. Okay, and you'll be helping someone who is not that good in software. So as students, what you could do is that so again, the key idea is that you should try to go back to your campuses. And so one of the project that I'm working on right now, I'll show it at the end. Oracle Cloud, I guess, gives 1 GB to vCPU and this for free. Just credit card link free at the YouTube. Like lot of options are there. Just you can like look over it, or like Cloudflare tunnels use laptop and then domain accessible. So like try to at least host something. Okay, host as tech community. So like Kochi FOSS United, we are a community. Mostly activities are Telegram group. Okay, the FOSS United organization, they have a thing called discourse. Okay, discourse is discourse. Correct? Forum. Yeah. Basically, it's a forum. Stack Overflow. Okay. So that is self-hostable. Discourse is actually self-hostable. So community ke aavashyamaayittulla karyangal community ke thanne endha cheyan, and like there is a nammude ennu parayunna oru feeling undu. Okay, so nammude community ke nammal thanne cheyyuka ennu parayunna oru feeling, like self sufficiency is actually awesome. Okay, and you could get more freedom when it's like it's the people of our community. So Instagram you put comment it nala 40,000 പേരോട് അടി ഉണ്ടാക്കണം. Okay, but എന്തായാലും അടി ഉണ്ടാക്കേണ്ടി വരും, കോളേജിലെ പിള്ളേരോട് അടി ഉണ്ടാക്കേണ്ടി വരും. പക്ഷെ still again the point is it's some place that people that are like exclusive to that community will be there, that will be like taking part in it. So that's better to do for the communities. Itu corporation. Okay, so basically, you could scan this QR code and okay. So, okay, this is so like okay. This leads to the project that I told that I've been working on. It's called like wiki.foss.org. Media wiki is Media wiki. Okay, so Wikipedia is okay. So Wikipedia uses the same Wikipedia uses software on Media wiki. So Media wiki is free and open source. So the Oracle VM that I got, 1 GB RAM, 2 vCPU, I have deployed MediaWiki. So last January 13th, I deployed it. Software system deploy. So right now it has around 113 users. So them are like inactive. There are 232 student written articles about random things. Okay, campus like some of them are like very elaborate. And the idea was to create a knowledge hub that circles around FOSS Meetup. So like I mentioned about FOSS Meetup, right? It's been here from 2005. So 2005 ഇവിടെ വന്നവരുടെ blogs ഇപ്പോൾ കുറേ available ആണ്. Okay, there is this guy called Adul Chitnis. He died in 2013. He wrote 2 blogs about coming to NIT Calicut. So 2005 ഞങ്ങളുടെ ക്യാമ്പസിലേക്ക് ഒരു ഗസ്റ്റ് വന്നു. ആളുടെ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് എന്താണെന്ന് എനിക്ക് വായിക്കാൻ പറ്റും. പക്ഷേ I had to search കുറേ for getting that thing. I used to create a platform, or like it's not like creating, like I want that knowledge to be available for anyone that's there in my community. So that's the deeper understanding of this. And again, I was like telling to other people, okay, in the targeted audience, because most of you are professionals. But again, I feel like alumni are like in constant touch with me. Okay, so like the job that I'm doing right now, most of the skills that I have to thank my alumni. So you guys are professionals, but you guys are still like alumni from some college. So make sure that your stories can be told, or like your stories stay inside that campus. So like MediaWiki is a great tool to be deployed, because article than account like right now NITC da Wikipedia okay, I know that could be abused, but still there are like tools to filter out the abuses. You can't actually destroy anything, because it's all like logged, and like you could revert back and like ban people. But again, the key idea is that make sure freedom stays in the education, so that freedom will be there in the society too. So that's been it. Thank you.
Questions?
Questions? Yeah, questions. Yeah.
Not a question per se, but more like a shout out. There is a GitHub page called Awesome Self-Hosted. Can you pull that up if you remember? So you have like, as you like Benny said, like you can deploy for development. If you have any problems that you would like a solution to, it is a good place to search. Awesome Self-Hosted. It has a like categorized list of open source software that you can deploy on your own.
Vishal, I remember some years back when I was in college, there was a
very popular.
Wait a second. I am screen share. Browser screen share. FOSS
school management in a way, European rates in the world prominent
software.
So,
COVID time we are using Moodle. Moodle software. I guess it's free and open source. I guess again Oracle Cloud it's fine. So that's pretty good software. Actually, it could do better. School if anyone knows, you could fill me.
I think it was Moodle.
Moodle
is PHP.
Moodle is PHP. AMS ERP. Some ERP ending or
any other questions?
oh, okay. But he's also doing where
is it a learning platform like video stream? I know this platform.
awesome job. But he's again doing for something like online education, but paid. What is it?
Awesome self-hosted. Also, one second. I guess no one actually scanned developer questions. I have an answer. So wiki.fossil.org. Okay. So this is the page. Continuity user side. Hey, and it does very good amount of
So you're just hosting a wiki, is that?
Yeah, it is. Okay, I'll so this also does proper SEO. Okay, I'll show what is all you 243 articles you get the statistics about this page, and this is the views total. And clicks actually there is no way possible that I click so most of these clicks are actually, I guess, also like SEO article Google search it will pop up. Okay, so that's also there. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vaishak. So as I had spoken earlier in the morning today, there is actually an event that is happening next month end called FOSS Hack, which is being organized and funded by FOSS United. So if anyone's interested in building FOSS software in a hacker format, and if somebody is interested in learning about FOSS projects and contributing to their first FOSS endeavor, do look into this. It is you can Google or DataPro FOSS United FOSS Hack 2024, and this link will show up. So as noted here, cash price is 10 lakhs. That is incentivizing. Yeah. Another event that is going to happen is India FOSS, which is scheduled for September of this year in Bangalore. If anyone's interested in giving a talk there, the proposal CFP will close on month end 30th. So, and tickets are also currently, the early bird tickets are out. So if anyone's interested, do sign up. Last and final, please join our Telegram group on FOSS United Kochi. It's pointed to by this QR code.
thank you for attending. Now we'll also have to thank our hosts, IBS. So I'd like everyone to give them a round of applause. Thank you for joining. Let's head to lunch. Group photo. First we have a group photo. Yeah.
We just have to